friends, this is Grace and welcome to my channel and welcome to another layout with our A to Z layout. And the prompt or the letter that I was able to pick was H, and the prompt is homemade items. Now these layered embellishments were made many years ago. I would say at least 5 years ago. This was back in the day when I would watch all these YouTubers pull out all their scraps and just do a session of creating homemade embellishments. The idea is really great. However, I'm not the kind of scrapper that does the pre-made stuff. Like, I have realized for me that like making base pages or making pre-made embellishments doesn't really work, because most of the time I scrapbook based off of the event or the colors of the pictures or what's in front of me. So if I prep something that I won't use until later, it's really hard for me to do that. I scrapbook kind of in the moment. I do some kind of planning, like when I knew it was going to be homemade items, I kind of, pulled out the papers that I needed and things like that. But making pre-made things that are ready to go to be used, it's really hard for me. Anyways, but I kept it because, that's what most scrappers do. You keep the stuff that you make and hopefully you'll be able to use it. And so I was cleaning my supplies and I noticed this one, so I made sure that I put that in my prompt for this particular challenge. If you are new to my channel or you're new to this series, I'm revisiting a series that I created or I did I think I want to say 2 years ago or maybe 3 years ago, where I specifically focused on using products in my stash, and I did it through an alphabet type of idea. And I started with A and my prompt was alphabets, and so I did a layout featuring a lot of alphabets in the layout and just kind of using up my stash that way. And I really like that, and some of you also enjoyed that one. And it just gives us permission to use up the stuff that we have and actually use it up, and also remind ourselves of why we have them in our stash in the first place. So this time around, what I'm doing is I am doing the A through Z, but it's random. So it's not going to be chronological. And I have my little kind of homemade wheel that I made, not really turning very well like I want to, but it turns enough. And so whatever alphabet it turns to, then that's what I'm going to do. So going back to this layout, again, I'm using homemade embellishments. So the embellishments are already made. These pictures are of my son putting together, I don't know if you guys know this, but Home Depot gives like kid kits once in a while. And so he got this one. It's a planter. And so he put it together. It was already put together, but you have to paint it and then put the bunny on the top. And because it was a bunny, I thought that it would be a nice kind of spring type of layout. And then I used a 6x8 paper pad for this, but I only trimmed them into a 2x6 inch strip, and then I'm layering that on top. Hindsight, I probably wouldn't have done the center 2 strips because, as you can see, it's covered up by my photos, but it is what it is. And then I am backing that up with a light pink paper and then matting or using a checkered pink paper, or colorful paper, I should say, as the mat for the whole thing. Now, the stripes of paper will be on the left side so that the embellishments will go on the right. And at the end of this page, it does look a little busy, but I like that I was able to add the embellishments because that's the prompt. But then I also was able to pull other materials from my stash that I probably would not have gravitated to if not that I was really trying to use up my stash here. Another thing that I pulled, so I have this spring type of homemade kit, and in that spring kit I had put in some Easter titles that I had cut from my silhouette, and so I'm going to use one of them here. It's called Bunny Hop. Initially I had thought that maybe I'll just use one of this 3x4 cards, but I really wanted to use one of those die cut or pre-made embellishments. Again, like I said, I don't do a lot of pre-made, but once in a while I do like to make or to like do batch cut files. Most of them are useful to me, especially if they're generic or pretty typical words that you can use for any layout. I would do that, but for the most part I really don't like to, I don't like to make pre-made things, because I know that I'm not gonna, it just doesn't work well with my brain, I guess. What I like about this pattern paper that I'm using is it's double-sided, so I get a lot more mileage with the papers that I have, because I can cut two 2x6 for one particular paper, because there's two different designs on the paper. And so I'm just layering them on top of this, again, light pink paper. I'm noticing that my papers are not quite, because it is smaller than a 12x12, and so it makes it that it's not going to fit. And I want the edge strips to be the same length, and so I was moving that fifth paper up a little bit, and that's fine with me. Like I said, if hindsight, I would have probably just not done the middle ones, because it's going to be covered up by my photos anyways. And then I decided that on the left side it needed a little bit more something, and so I used a border punch and punched a scallop on a darker pink paper, and then I'm going to put that on the left. And as I'm looking at it now, I should have done the right side as well, just to have some symmetry, but I'm not going to realize that until after I have adhered everything, and then realize like, oh, you know what, it would have been nice if there was like a sliver of that same cardstock that's going to be on the right side of that striped paper border. But I'm moving along. I did matte my photos on white cardstock just to make it stand out a little bit more against all of the background. I love the colors of spring. It's just the brightness of the different colors, and then, you know, the pastel-y too. It's so refreshing. Not that bold colors of the fall and winter are not good. There's something with the pinks and the purples and the yellows and the light blues in spring that just makes you happy. I don't know if you feel that way, but that's how I feel. Anyways, I'm continuing to add all of the elements that I had wanted to on this page. There's only 3 photos here, and I am making sure that there's enough room for my block, 3x4 block, that I'm actually layering on top of each other, just to kind of give it a little bit something there. And then I also pre-printed my journaling, and I have been doing this technique where when I type my journaling, I also add my date on there, and it has helped me so much, because when I adhere that piece to my layout is done, like done. Because back in the day, or before I started doing this technique, I would have a date finding, date stamping session. And that is when I would grab a stack of layouts, and then I would be on my computer trying to find the photos so that I can look at the properties and find out the date. And then I have my rolling stamp, and then find the date and then stamp it. Now, I stopped doing that because I haven't bought a roller stamp in a while, and so I don't have a 2024 one. I think mine stops at 2023. So, or maybe it was 20, I can't remember. But anyways, I don't have the date or the year, the updated year. So I'm going to have to do that I'm going to have to buy a new one if I wanted to continue that. But I really like this idea because, like I said, once I put the journaling block on the layout and it has a date, it's like the layout is officially done. I don't have to revisit it again. The only time I will revisit it is when I need to put it in its own sheet protector and then file it away in my album. So now that I've done the bulk of the layout, you saw me adding that strip over there on the right side of the pattern paper block. It just seemed like it made more sense, right, to add that little piece. And I just cut a 1/4-inch strip of that same cardstock what I use with the scallop border. And so now I'm trying to find the different kinds of circles that I wanted to add. The homemade embellishments that I made, there were some like a kind of stamp, punched out stamp block, and then there's also the layered circles with scallop and stuff. And so I'm gonna, to make it look like they're all cohesive, I am going to stick with that one shape, the circle with a scallop. And so I'm gonna maintain that look and that shape here and not add any of the postage stamp type of embellishments. And then of course we'll just save that for another layout. So this looks good right here, but again, like I told you, I wanted to add a cut file here just because I have a few of these. And as you can see, the hop part is actually like the P is cut out, and for some that might bother them, but for me it doesn't. Initially I had thought, well, maybe I can use the same cardstock that I used for that strips of pink, but it just blends so easily with the other colors because of the color scheme. It's very springy, of course, but I wanted my title to stand out a little bit more. So I opted with a brown cardstock, and then I am going to adhere that with some foam adhesive. These are fun foam that I made to be my own foam adhesive. You just basically get strips or sheets of double-sided adhesive, put it on one side of a fun foam, and then cut them up in strips. And then when you're ready to adhere it, then you peel off the other side, because like I said, it's double-sided. You peel it off and then you put it on your layout. Of course, I could just buy double-sided adhesives, but I have a lot of fun foams and I also have a few more of these sheets, and so I'm gonna just use up what I have until it's all gone, and then I will consider purchasing the actual foam adhesives. So now just a little bit more touches. Again, because he made a bunny project, I'm gonna add a few bunnies here and then call it good. Thank you so much for watching. If you like these videos, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing, and also sharing with the other people that you think will like the things that I make here. Until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye now.